How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about SNDL Sundial growers that ended up having a strong earnings beat. Of course, the stock ended up benefiting from this and had quite the jump. Many people are sending me messages, we need an update video. So of course, I wanted to make sure I put this together for you guys. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder or you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is the technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in a bearish case scenario and as well as in a bullish case scenario. I want to make sure you guys are prepared. And then we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership and as well as the short interest information. The reason why this is important in regards to the short interest, it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know what was the buying and the selling behavior like on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for SNDL Sundial growers. Let's see how it performed on Friday. So it ended up closing at 92 cents, being up 27.82%. On the low, it tested 80 cents, and then on the high, testing 96 cents. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you could see we traded at 893.195 million shares, and then for the average volume over 10 trading days, being at 186.514 million shares. So when you get this kind of volume coming through SNDL, you can look forward to seeing strong moves like this. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is the daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it is at 77.04. So it is in the overbought territory. So just hypothetically speaking, if you were going to buy SNDL at these particular levels, you are paying quite the premium. I want to make sure I put that out there. Now, when we take a look at our moving averages here, you can see we have strength above the 21-day EMA as well as the 50-day, the 100-day, and we are just below the 200-day here, right at 94 cents. But we closed at 92, and on the day, we ended up seeing a high of 96. So if we had a bit more buying pressure and a lot less selling and profit taking, we could have easily gotten to the $1 range. That's just my personal opinion. But again, these are one of the things where it takes a process here. Now, as far as for the earnings is concerned, we were not expecting that. Let's be real here. I was saying I wanted to see SNDL get to $1 within a year. And SNDL was like, you know what? I'm going to do that within a week. And they announced doing the share buyback and also surprised earnings. So one thing I want you guys to pay attention to, there is a big time gap here. I feel like this is very important to talk about. And we have it right here around the 72, 73 cent area because it did gap up overnight, right? So we could see here right at 80 cents. 80 cents is where it tested on the low for support. So this gap and most gaps tend to get filled. And this is why it would be very risky to buy in at the current levels, knowing that this gap is here from a trading aspect. But for the most part, if this momentum does continue, then of course what you want to see SNDL do, since it did hold up the 80 cent level, most preferably you'd want to see how well it could hold up 90 cents. If it can go into Monday and as well as for the rest of the week, holding down the 90 cent level, then we could look forward to a move going to $1. If we are unable to hold up 90 cents, let's say for example we decide to float around in the 80 cent range, this is where you're getting closer to the gap. But again, once this gap gets filled, it makes SNDL look even more bullish. So that's why I want to make sure I'm being very clear about that, because many people will say, well, you know what, this is great, this is amazing, we're going to go to $2, but at the same time stocks just don't go straight up. So if it does want to be volatile, if it does pull back, hey, that opens up an opportunity to get in with a better better position if you're looking at SNDL for the long term. Now we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for SNDL. So scrolling down further on the page, green rows indicate new positions while red rows indicate closed positions. So we could see here for the 12th, definitely a lot of filings being done here. So we have 3 closed positions coming from Credit Suisse, JP Morgan and Chase, and as well as WMS Partners. Scrolling down further, we have Hightower Advisors LLC with a put position, and then we also have Meridian Wealth Partners LLC that purchased 14,000 shares. Scrolling back further, we could see 3 more institutions with closed positions, and we also have an open position here, which is new Coldstream Capital Management LLC that purchased 29,500 shares, and Group 1 Trading that purchased just over 1.1 million shares. And if we go back even further for the 12th, we're being exact here, we have 1 closed position from Peak 6 Investments LLC. So now as we scroll back to the page to check out the short interest, dark pool short volume ratio is at 31.90%, and then for the dark pool short volume, it is at 174 million shares, just over that. And then when we take a look at the short shares availability, it is at 3.2 million, updated 1 minute ago. And then for the short ball free rate, it is at 10%. Now, when we take a look at the history of the short volume ratio, we could see for the close for the 11th last week, which was Thursday, 28.42. And now for the 12th, which was a Friday that just passed, being at 31.90. So one thing that is very clear, SNDL does continue to have short squeeze potential. So this is part of the reasons why there's going to be a lot of volatility inside of the stock, and you want to make sure that you're maximizing your overall entries, and if you're going to be trading it, that you have a solid game plan. So now let's jump into the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for SNDL. So we could see here on the inflow was 170, and then on the outflow it was 204. So we ended up having an outflow day. When we take a look at the breakdown, we had 0 on the large, 113 on the medium, and then on the small it was 57.61, and keep in mind this is in the millions. When we take a look at the outflow side, on the large it was 1.72, and then on the medium it was 132, and then on the small it was 70.54. When we take a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you could see for November the 12th, so the Friday that just passed, you see the negative of 1,718.8, and for the prior 2 days it was 0 down the board for the 11th as well as the 10th. We also did have an outflow on the 9th, but we did have an inflow on the 8th as well, which was at 180.58. Taking a look at the breakdown even further, you can see as far as for the retail side, we had a lot of selling that was going on, but we did have some buying. And then when we take a look at the medium side, we had more selling than we had buying as well. And we could see for the large scale, which is potentially institutions, a lot more selling. We didn't have any buying at all. When we take a look at the turnover ratio though, you could see 43.44. And you know what? This is actually fairly high. There is a good portion of people who bought shares and who are holding on to them, but we have a lot of selling that happened on the Friday. And I wouldn't be surprised if these were traders that were going off of the price action, plus on top of that, anyone who was holding SNDL shares and looking to get out. Because we know this stock has been extremely volatile, and when you have a big move like that, people are going to be taking profits, and that's just something that we have to deal with. So now let's go into the final thoughts, and we'll go over some more details as well. So for my final thoughts for SNDL Sundial growers, it was great to see that we were able to pull off an earnings beat. We saw improvements in revenue, plus on top of that, they announced a share buyback program. And I love this because you know what this does? This gives back to investors. And again, we know already for the overall free float, it is over 2 billion shares. So if they can bring that down, like I said, it helps the stock overall in general, and it creates excitement. And that's part of the reasons why we had that strong gap up. But as far as the selling pressure is concerned, you can't be surprised about it. There are many people who have been holding shares and just wanting to close their position, and also traders being inside of the play. And this was clearly shown when we saw the turnover ratio being as high as it was. Also, when we went on Fintel, taking taking a look at the short interest information, SNDL does continue to have short squeeze potential, but it also does show us that there's a lot of negative market sentiment around the stock. So you got to look forward to seeing even more volatility. And like I was talking about on the chart, there is a gap fill to the downside. So if you're looking into getting into a position, I would exercise some patience so you can get a better entry. Many people are going to say, well, you know what? You're a bear. You're a hater. You work for the short sellers. My main goal is to make sure that you guys are not paying more than you need to. So if it ends up pulling back, going into that 70-cent range, that looks a lot better than buying the stock at the 90-cent range or even at $1. Let's be honest here. You don't have to overpay. Be patient, have a strategy, do your homework, do your due diligence, look at the charts, and then come with an informed decision. Do not go in there blindly, all right? I want to make sure I emphasize that. But for the most part, this is great to see, and I can't wait to see how SNDL performs for the coming week, and as well as for the rest of the year, and also going into next year, because like I said, I see this stock reaching that $1 level, and I'm going to be excited to see where it goes from there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll be talking real soon.